odd downshifts in all three corners.
Hey everybody, John here after a bit of a hiatus, but I'm back, a little under the weather, but we are here at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle, and on a rainy Sunday afternoon where the actual Cup event has been rained off and postponed until tomorrow morning. That's okay. I do have a race here at Pocono for you. Did miss the last 2 weeks at Charlotte, which sucks because Charlotte's probably my best track, and I'd been up in the top 5 a lot, and I was really hoping that maybe that might have been the chance. Either one of those weeks might have been the chance for me to really get up there and fight for a win, but my schedule just would not allow me time to get in a race, so it just wasn't to be. But that's okay. We're back here at Pocono, and this track is really a lot of fun to drive. If you don't know anything about it, 3 very different corners modeled after, I can't remember, this corner that you're watching right now, this was modeled after Indianapolis, but each corner was modeled after a different track. I believe turn 3 was Milwaukee, turn 2 is Indy, and I can't remember what turn 1 was. But either way, that's what makes it so cool, is you have 3 absolutely unique corners and a very long, the longest front straightaway in NASCAR racing here, after coming out of turn 3, called the Long Pond Straightaway, which makes turn 3 the most important corner on the racetrack. If you can get a good run off turn 3, you're going to set yourself up for a good lap because of the length of this front stretch. So here we go. We're going to come down to green. I qualified in 7th because I hit the wall during qualifying. And that really sucked. Here we go. We're off.
Got one outside. All clear, all clear.
This is I didn't get a lot of practice time this week on this track, and they're the 5. I don't know. He hit the brakes hard, and you saw I locked him up going into turn 1. So
Still there.
Hopefully that does not hurt the tires too awful much.
There's a car on the high side.
Kind of debating back and forth what I should be doing for pit strategy here. Tires don't wear an awful lot, at least in iRacing. So, do I
Got one outside.
stay out? I mean, it's a 25 lap race. I think that's easily on one. You could do that on one tire run.
Still there.
But I don't know how much I'm going to be losing
All clear. Got
to
one
these other
outside.
guys who have fresh tires. And here you see me losing a lot. I'm going backwards. Absolutely going backwards on the restart.
Stay low.
I'm not really sure
Still
why.
there.
I just got a bad. I had to lock him up going into turn 1, and it kind of ruined the entire lap. That's the funny thing about this track, is it's so big. It's 2.5 miles. There's a massive facility.
All clear.
But if you mess up one of the corners, it screws up your entire lap. It's really your corner speeds
Clear high. Clear
and
high.
everything are so dependent, or your corner entries are so dependent on your straightaway speeds, which are so dependent on your corner exits, that if you miss one of them, your whole lap is ruined. So it's really tough track to drive. And there goes somebody down on the rumble strips. I go high and about lose the race car. I really thought I was going to lose it there. But he came down and hit the
Clear low.
rumble strips through the tunnel turn, or turn 2, and lost it. And I had to get out of my line and got up high, and just the car just, the back end really wanted to step out. Saved it, but now we're back, way back, much further back than I prefer to be in these races. I'm really surprised I didn't go back further. I guess the other guys really are either taking it easy here in the beginning, waiting for the wrecks, or maybe it's their first time on this track too. The car behaves a lot differently with other cars around it, which is really cool. I like that iRacing models that fairly well. At least I assume they do. I've never been in a race car, so I wouldn't know. But
Outside.
right there, you saw me get underneath the 6 through the tunnel turn.
Towards the line.
I could not figure out turn 1 on this track for the life of me. I could not figure that turn out. Turn 3, I felt like I was as good as everybody else through 3, but I thought I was the fastest car on the track through the tunnel turn, and that's where I could make my gains. If I had a choice to be if you gave me a choice and was like, which corner do you want to be the best, better than everybody else at? I'd say turn 3 here. I already said it's the most important corner on the track, but I'll take being better than the guys I'm driving around on one of the 3 corners.
You're clear high. Clear high.
But I felt like I could make a lot of gains through the tunnel turn. A lot of guys did not have that figured out, and to me, it was the easiest corner on the track. It's a simple matter of spiking the brakes right there at the safer barrier, dropping it down to the apex of that corner, and then you can see the gains I make through that turn.
Outside.
Gonna pull out and get by the 7
low,
here,
there's a
come
car
into
on
the
the
3,
high side.
maybe, hopefully.
Stay low. There is a car on the high side.
But this, like every other track I've raced at,
You're clear high,
whether in the
clear
trucks
high.
or in the B cars,
You got one outside. All
I
clear,
really
all
feel
clear.
like the longer the run goes, the better I am. The more I don't like when we're stacked up 2 by 2, you know, and everybody's kind of fighting for the same piece of real estate. I kind of like it when it gets like this, when the cars get strung out and you can start picking them off one at a time. And I thought this track was, more than any track I've driven at, lended itself to that, to really setting a guy up and really working kind of a passing strategy. You get behind a guy and you make a plan. Now here I could have gone under the 5, but I did not want to get cut off. I did not want to get wrecked early, so I just backed out of it. I very easily could have gotten under him through the tunnel turn there. Just chose not to. Didn't want to risk it. But I'm right now hoping that we get along. I'm hoping the thing goes green the entire way, because I think if it does, I can probably work up, hopefully in the top 5. Qualified in 7th, I'd really like to finish ahead of that position, so we'll see what happens. Also, looking at the actual Pocono
You got one
track
outside.
this week,
All clear. All clear.
iRacing maybe should, I know they have bigger issues, but maybe they need to update. This is not the 2016 or
Yeah,
even
one
2015 Pocono circuit.
Stay high.
The rumble strips are different. The wall, the 7's
Stay
going to get me
high.
here through the
There's
tunnel
the car
turn,
on
and
the low side.
that's fine. He's
All clear. All
really
clear.
driving the wheels off that car. Not in a good way. I think he's burning his stuff up. But the wall on the straightaway coming out of turn 1 has been moved all the way up to the edge of the track to prevent accidents like we saw with Steve Park back in maybe 02 and Davey Allison in 92. You know, a lot of bad wrecks coming off that corner, so they moved that wall up to prevent guys from going through the grass and really just clobbering the wall, which is good. Good on that track. They said by next year, Pocono Speedway will have safer barriers around 100% of its barriers. So that's a great initiative, and that's a big track to do that to. But it's necessary. I've said it before. There's no excuse. There's no reason to not have safer barriers all the way around these tracks, especially at tracks where they get to the speeds where they get here at Pocono, where you're going 205, you know, into the corners. So these guys kind of fighting in front of me, and it's tough when they're 2 wide. I don't want to push anybody 3 wide, not because I don't feel like I could do it, because I don't know how they're going to react. But I'll take you for a lap around this track. Again, I haven't figured out turn 1, so don't do it like I do. Right here at this one sign, I punch the brakes, try and drop it just below this first seam. Not all the way down to the rumble strip, but just below that first seam, and accelerate off and get some, hopefully, decent speed down this stretch right here. My brake point for the tunnel turn is coming up just as a safer barrier pops into view, and I missed it badly there. I hit the brakes at the safer barrier, turn left, hit the apex, and there's a wreck right in front of us.
Pit road is closed.
So we'll talk about that later.
Catch the 5 car.
Here's the question of strategy where it comes in. We've only run a few laps. Tires aren't going to be that bad. Now, I know Kurt Busch was saying today on the rain delay broadcast that 15 laps into the Cup event tomorrow, which everybody's going to miss, unless you don't have a job. They're gonna want tires because the fall off is huge. I didn't see here. I can run fairly consistent laps throughout the tire run, but my thought at this point is whatever everybody else does, that's what I'm gonna do too. If they all come for tires, I'll come for tires. If they don't, they don't. And spoilers, everybody's gonna come in for tires.
Do you use the access road to pit here, or do you pit right off the end of 3?
Bud doesn't know how to get into the pits.
I don't use the access road.
You really don't need tires here.
Yeah, and see, their car was kind of echoing the thing. You don't need tires here. This is not a Dover
I need
or
tires.
an Atlanta that really ate the tires
I need
up.
tires every lap.
Yeah, and that's 7
need a
cars
little more
saying he
skill.
needs tires every lap. He's the one that drove by me
Oh, I thought
on
that
the
was
last
without
run.
being said.
And like I said,
For me,
he's
anyway.
really driving it hard in the corners. And I think on a long run, he would have massive fall off. But here we come through turn 3. I'm going to come down and do the always exciting search for my pit box. I'm not sure. That looked like that guy hit the wall just now. Did not notice that before. I'm pretty sure he tried to get in the pits. I don't know what happened. It really looked like he hit the wall. That white car. Maybe not. Maybe I'm crazy. There's my guy, and now I'm going to do the totally legit drive through the guy, get into the pits. And I know it looks silly, but I'm really glad iRacing does that, because it would make pit road a nightmare if you could not drive through. If it didn't kind of ghost the cars, it would make it really difficult. I do wish it would give you a limit and say you can't drive through more than 4 boxes, because guys will just drive down through the pit boxes the whole time, which I don't like. Here's what happened in the wreck. You see the 8 gets into the wall, comes to the tunnel turn, and he's running second, but loses it out of the tunnel turn and then comes back up the track. Of course, the 2 really gets the worst end of that deal there. Not a real cool move by the 8. You know, I don't like that. If you're gonna lose it, keep it down to the inside. Don't ruin somebody else's day because you can't
Green
keep
flag,
it straight
green
around the
flag.
tunnel turn.
The pace cars in.
Here we go. We're gonna restart 7th place, and I'm probably gonna go backwards again because I suck at restarts. I'm on the outside. I'm gonna come into 1. And I don't want to run over anybody, so I take it probably a little more conservative than I should have. And going to really start losing some spots. And you see the 3 wide in front of me. Here I'm kind of tentative. I don't know if I should push it because I know I'm fast at this corner. I decide not to, and the 11 gets me on the inside and does not take the inside of the corner. That was...
Got 1 inside.
Here comes the 8. And this is ridiculous. He wrecked bad. I hate the fact that he can be this fast.
Still there?
And thank you. I love being a bumper for somebody. That's great.
Clear low,
Really
clear
quality
low.
racing there. You overdrove the corner and just decided to bounce it off me to make it through. If I wasn't there, he'd have either hit the wall or had to brake really hard to not get in it. But that was just the guy can't drive. Whoever's in this 8 car is not very good. He's fast, sure, but he doesn't know how to drive. You saw there he lost it off of 2 and then pretty much ruined the Tuesday because he couldn't keep it down. Ruined the Tuesday. Ruined the number 2 car's day. And then just there, he just overdrove the corner, and I hate it when people do that. You know, I was giving him lots of room. No excuse for it. Whatever. If this were a longer race and I were to see him again, I probably would return the favor, and I'm not saying wreck him, but treat him the same way. Race him the same way. Drive it in and let him be my bumper to come through the corner. You see I got a good run off of turn 3. The 5's going to play the defensive game. So I'm just kind of stuck. I could push it down below him, but I'm just not sure how he'd react. You know, these aren't, I've said it a lot of times, these are not professional drivers. None of us are. And you don't know how somebody's going to react when you get that far out of the line, out of the standard 2x2 racing line. So for me, I'll just try and set him up and get him in a little bit. I'm faster than him. He's holding me up, and right there, I don't know what he's doing. But he's obviously not going to let me have the inside of the track.
Got one inside.
Then that's fine.
All clear, all clear.
In retrospect, I could have gotten a little more aggressive with him. I could have hit him there coming out. I could have wrecked him coming out of the tunnel turn, honestly. But, again, just not worth it. I'm also kind of fully expecting a wreck. You can see cars drifting all over the track using a lot of different lanes, which is part of what makes this track so fun. This is the most fun track I've driven. And that's kind of why. You can set people up. People are driving different lanes. There's not just one preferred way around the racetrack. This 5 is really holding me up. But track position here is huge. You can see I'm faster than the 5. But getting by somebody is difficult. I feel like if I could be up 4 positions in front of that green car up there, I could easily hang up there, but I'm just trying to get by these guys right directly in front of me. And it's proving to be a difficult task. I was also kind of hoping this race was going to be 50 laps instead of 25, which would have been half the distance of the Xfinity race. Well, actually, it would have been almost the full distance that they actually ran. And I like the races to be a little longer. I don't like them to be a bunch of sprints where you got guys like the 8 or the 7 who just drive the wheels off the race car, burn everything up, but it doesn't matter because the race is over in a few laps. Here you go. I'm going to get under the 6 out of the tunnel turn. Get by him.
There's a car on the high side. Stay low. You're clear high, clear high.
The Xfinity race was okay yesterday. The Gibbs cars obviously were the class of the field, but they got beat kind of on circumstance. I think Eric Jones definitely would have won that race, even if it had gone 2 more laps. But it's kind of nice. Kyle Larson he kind of got screwed last week at Charlotte with the late caution coming out in the Xfinity race, and Joey Logano ended up getting by him in overtime. So it was kind of nice to see him get a win. But as far as the quality of racing, I mean, at one point you had Kyle Busch leading. Eric Jones was behind him by like 0.3 seconds. And then the entire rest of the field was 7 seconds behind them. So it wasn't the greatest competition to watch. I did like when they bunched up on the restarts. You got to see some really good moves on restarts. Elliott Sadler was really fun to watch. Kyle Larson made some great moves on the restart. Made a really good move going 3 wide into the tunnel turn to pass for what ended up being the pass for the win. Good race. I was disappointed today got canceled, but nothing they can do, nothing NASCAR can do about the weather. But I also think I fully expect this Pocono race to be very, very boring. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll surprise us, but here's my bold prediction. The Gibbs Toyotas are going to run away with it. They have more power, and on this track, that's really, really going to make a difference. With straightaways this long, that additional horsepower is really going to lead to some bad racing. And there's somebody crashing right in front of us.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
We're going to stay out of that one, too.
Pit road is closed. It's the 5 car.
One of the things I'm thinking of doing, because I like the Xfinity cars. I really have enjoyed driving this series. I like it better than the trucks because the trucks are too stable. You'll get loose in the trucks, but they tend to push or understeer more than they oversteer. And these are more of a handful to drive, and they're just a little more fun. So I really like them. I just wish the races were longer. So what I'm thinking about doing is there's this division called like the NASCAR iRacing series or something like that, where they take either 50% or sometimes 100% of the cup race.
How beat up is my
And-
rear end, Carl?
Stop, Richard. Stop it, Dick. You have a beat up rear end because you can't drive.
You're
Don't answer him,
spoiler
Carl.
viewed. Yeah, it might hurt you a little bit.
It should hurt him a lot a bit. If you did that to an
I
actual
can definitely
car,
tell I don't have
it would screw you for the
full
rest of the
straightaway
day.
speed,
You
but
cannot wad up a
doing
race
alright.
car like that at a track like this and be fast. In iRacing,
Yeah,
you
your
can,
left spoiler
which is fine when you're the guy that wrecked, but
is a little
I
bit
really
sewed
wish
up in the air.
iRacing would punish people who wrecked hard, wrecked more. And that guy lost it, got absolutely clobbered in a actual race car. He'd have been in the
Feel bad, man,
pits.
my
He'd have been
right
behind
finger's
the wall in the
part
garage
demolished.
for a long time getting that
Yeah, but
that
we're
car
not
fixed. He
catching
may
that
not
anyway,
have come
so-
back out as hard as that 2 hit him if they were real race cars.
Nah, he's drinking
But
bub
he's
with
able
the
to come back
cheerleaders
out, and I
already
like,
done one this
part of me
race.
likes that
Get rid of
iRacing
the power.
allows you to kind of come back from your mistakes, but part of me's kind of like, he screwed up. He messed up, he wrecked it, overdriving 2, and he suffered almost no consequences for it. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. I feel like I'm really careful when I drive, trying not to bend the car up, and it's not something I'm rewarded for, so mostly I'm just bitching that iRacing doesn't suit my driving style, or doesn't reward my driving style more than it does. But either way, we'll come in here, and in retrospect, really should have stayed out. Should have stayed out. We had like not even 10 laps on these tires. We're going to go green with like 3 to go, so there was no sense for me to pit. I should have stayed out and maybe fought for the win, but at
Hit
least
neutral.
Line up
secured a
for the
top 5
5.
finish.
It's a 5 hard.
As bad as I am at restarts, who knows what would happen. But here's what happened again through the tunnel turn. Tire's starting to get a little worn, and you can get loose out of there, but I don't know. In the limited practice I had, I never had an issue like that. I was just wanting to turn around out of the tunnel turn. The only thing that happened was when that 11 clipped the rumble strip early in the race and got into my line, and I had to come up. But I was really upset the car just more with the evasive
Green
maneuver
flag,
than
green
anything
flag.
else.
All right, man. Pace
So
on.
here goes the restart. The line in front of me doesn't go when I thought they
Got one
would.
inside.
And again, this would be where a live spotter would be nice, because when you're this far back in the field,
Stay high.
you're guessing. You're just guessing. And I overdrive this intentionally.
there.
I drove it hard in. I did not want to go to the back again on a restart, and I also did not want to get run over. So overdrive the crap out of turn 1. And now I'm sitting back here probably in, 11th position. Not the best spot to be in. not where I want to be. Especially with 2 to go, coming down to 2 to go. Oh well. First time at this track, and like I said, this was a fun race. But I don't like hanging out here in the back. I also felt like this was,
Outside.
you could pass on this track
All clear, all
without
clear.
worrying about wrecking anybody or getting wrecked, because the track's is just wide enough.
All right, man. 2 to go.
And I'm not sure what's going on here with the 9. Probably could have been a lot more aggressive there. But I thought he might have been checking up for a reason. Like, I thought he may have been checking up because there was an incident in front of him. I don't know what his deal was. We'll get him here through 1, so we're going to start to make up some of those positions. Unfortunately, with this amount of time left, we're not going to be probably not going to be able to make up too many.
All clear, all clear.
But here's my bread and butter part of the track, through the tunnel turn. Trying to catch that 7 car who passed me earlier. Well, I know I'm faster than him. I know I'm faster than him. 3's a tricky corner. This is where I tended to get loose in practice. I'm surprised I didn't see anybody lose it coming into 3, because you're braking at an odd point. You can see I really get a run on the 7 here off of 3,
All right, man. It's
but
white
he's going to
flag
play
this time.
defense,
One
take
more
away
to
the
go.
inside. That's fine.
Yeah,
I got
one
something
inside.
for him. It's called a crossover move there, or
Stay
whatever your
high.
name is.
Go high.
Check it out.
Clear low, clear low.
You overdrive the entrance, and then I just get to pass you.
Got one outside. Still there.
That was really fun. I got pretty excited in in my office when that happened. When something works out the way you hoped it would, it's rewarding, because who doesn't like being right? And here we go. This for the second time, I'm going to pass the 6 car through the tunnel turn. And given another lap, I'm pretty sure I could have gotten these 2 white cars in front of me. Again, I feel like I feel like I'm fast in a 5-10 lap run and more. But 6 puts it in the wall, overdriving the exit. And that'll do it. We're going to end up in 6th place, 1 position ahead of where we qualified. Not the best race I've done by a long shot. I've pretty much hung out in the back the entire time.
There you go, man.
But by far, the most fun race I did. I really wished, I know I've said this 1,000 times, but I really wished it could have been longer. For one, because I thought I was faster the longer it went. But the second reason is this is a fun track to race on. This is a fun track just to go practice on by yourself. So when you put other cars out there and you're better than them, you know, everybody's kind of got their own corner, it seems, where they're good. So it makes for a lot of back and forth coming and going during the race, which is really cool. Wish the 8 wouldn't have used me as a bumper. Otherwise, I could have gotten out of here with 0x, but I don't really care about safety rating anymore. I'm definitely getting promoted at the end of the season, which is in a couple weeks. My safety rating's well above the threshold for promotion, so I'm okay to be a little more aggressive, and if somebody wants to run into me during a race, well, that happens. I just
All right, man. That's it. The race is over.
just really wish I had stayed out on that last pit stop. That really probably would have helped my situation. But there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep it out of the fence.